You know what made me sick one time? My brother, we went into a gas station. I think at the time we were getting protein shakes. That's like when Muscle Milks first came out and shit like that. So we're trying different things, right? And my brother comes into the truck. He's holding like an Irish cream. So he's drinking it. He's like, I can't believe how good this thing is.
His ears were spinning around, you know what I mean?
And the thing's fucking big. It's like a liter. Yeah. So he kills the thing, and I look at it, and it's 100% just Bailey's creamer.
It's like coffee creamer. It's like half and half coffee creamer.
I look at the back, I'm like, it's like 2,200 calories.
He's like, this tastes so good. I can't believe this tastes so good. We look at the back of it. I was like, no, I think the serving that you're looking at is by the tablespoon.
Yeah, it was like 120 calories a tablespoon. He took in a liter of this freaking Bailey's thing. Oh, and I'm thinking to myself, a dog couldn't keep that down. Remember your old furnace at the apartment?
Oh my God. That's one thing I remember more than anything in the world. My wife was pregnant at the time, and we were in the old apartment. This is an old apartment on the 3rd floor. I get up in the morning, I'm like, it's cold. I was like, I go turn on the heat. I'm sitting in front of the heat, it's getting hot. Sometimes when you crank it too hard up, it would stick, okay? So the thing's pumping out heat. It's not stopping. It's on, it's blowing heat. I'm like, man, I'm taking off my shirt. I'm like, this is so hot. I'm opening the windows. I'm like, it's so hot right now. I mean, I don't want anyone else to get too hot. You know, in the other room, there's other people sleeping. So I got my shirt off. I'm like, the thing will not turn off. It's all the way down. I'm like, oh man. I was like, my mouth starts to water, and I'm like, oh no. I was like, no, it's time. So the thing gets so damn hot. I'm in the bathroom puking in the toilet because I could not turn the furnace off. So yeah, I couldn't avoid it. I was freaking out. It was freak out. It's like drooling.
Half out of frustration.
Yeah, frustration. It was stress. It wasn't exactly the heat, but the heat was just the kicker.
Cracks me up every time.
Yeah, you
can't shut it off. You start puking.
We were crying. I was crying and freaking out telling the story the first time it happened. I was like crying, laughing. I had to go puke like a dog in the toilet, like Brandy. Ginger.
My sister blames me for puking in the toilet from drinking too much, and the dog saw it too many times.
The dog learned by seeing so many guys run over to the toilet and puke.
So she blames me. But her golden retriever used to sleep in the bed, and she said that the dog was acting funny, and in the middle of the night it kind of did like it was gonna puke, and she's like, "What, you okay?" And the thing dives out of the bed and runs to the bathroom and pukes in the toilet. I feel like in my whole career of construction, I've dragged in my buddies. So Rob's worked with me, Charles has worked with me, my friend D-Ray. Rob, he's always usually laboring with us and stuff like that. Now we have to dig like a very, very deep, I think this had to do with the charged septic, but this thing was 3 systems deep, so I'm gonna guess it was 12 feet deep. And we were running into the water table. So we have to, dig it deep and then throw in like crushed stone to get it to the grade we want. And you kind of gotta sit in water. And Rob thinks he's gonna like lightly slow himself down by running into this hole. And it's filled with water in the middle of November. And it's one of those things where like, his legs are 2 feet behind him, with his chest is coming down to the water. And I tried to stop his chest, and it's no way you could do it. So he just like, tumbled in.
Did a Superman in.
Yeah, swings his arms, and then he's like, asshole deep in shit for the rest of the day. But it was just such a funny thing to see. Like when you're not expecting it, it's like, all right, I'll bring in like the laser.
There's Rob.
Yeah, and he's like a trot, and then right into the fucking water.
Happened so fast.
I throw out an arm to stop him. He like blows through it like it's the end of a marathon. A manhole cover. It's got a flange on the bottom, right? We were reusing an old manhole cover. So it had the rubber gasket that kind of just like melts together and like adheres to it. You can't peel this off if you try. So I'm holding it with my thumbs over the flange, and my brother is gonna take a spade shovel and he's gonna try to dig at the top. And I'm holding like this, and he's as hard as he can with a spade shovel. Is like right across the top of it, right through the top of my thumb.
Oh, so what happened?
I mean, I had gloves on, but I knew it was over anyway.
Yeah.
So I take off my glove and my thumb's dangling. Like it was so bad. I was like, So again, just duct tape. Charlie's out on the site, and Charles is a master roller, but you know, we might get into tiffs with my dad, or if I'm fighting with Nick, or Nick's fighting with my dad, whatever the hell it is. He knows, he can see like the scuffle. Charles will like turn down the idle and kill the machine and like act like he's gonna come in and almost separate us. My father's like, roll, Charlie, roll! Like, don't you dare get involved in this.
It's so funny. Remember the tricks? You used to pass me the tins?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you got bags of apple skull, and he's just turning around like this, giving me a bag, and then leaving so no one else sees it.
My cuz used to work for a tree cutting company. He was driving a 10-wheeler, and his tires went over the lawn by like 6 inches. And as soon as he left the driveway, the guy called the cops, and he didn't have his seatbelt on. And of course, like, you put your seatbelt on when you see the cop, right? So they put the seatbelt on. The guy like flipped out on him. He's like, I saw you as soon as you left the driveway. He's like, you didn't have your seatbelt on. He's like, I had my seatbelt on. He's like, you didn't have your seatbelt on. Get out. He's like this. All right, I didn't have my seatbelt on. He's like this. You're so fucked, kid. You are so fucked. That's what he told him. You know what's funny about me is every single time I thought I was going to be funny at the end of a night,
yep,
I always wound up with my shoes off. Case in point, we'd go to a bar, all of us are there, hanging out with girlfriends, all the girls are always bitching, fighting with guys and all this other crap. One of my buddies and his girl were fighting so bad all night long. She was so pissed at him that they left, and he was just like, sorry guys. Like,
he must have done something bad, right?
I'll talk to you soon. So they leave, and I'm like, oh, I know it's gonna be funny because I'm gonna do parkour. I know it's gonna be funny. I'm gonna go out into the parking lot, and when she pulls out of her parking spot in a rage, I'm gonna make it look like she ran over somebody. So
yep,
she backs out really fast, and I slam into the back on purpose and jump on her back trunk. Next thing that happens is she zips away like it never happened.
Yeah.
And now I'm going 40 miles an hour. And I'm on the back of the trunk. And like, this road that we're on doesn't slow down. And I'm gonna be miles down the street. So I decide to hop off, and I do like 60 rolls, and my shoes are like 25 feet back.
How does that always happen? Now, I mean, Erick's lucky. Usually when you see people with their shoes blown off, they're usually dead. So he is the luckiest man I've ever known.
It always happens. Like, my shoes, I always try to do something stupid. Both of my shoes get blown off.
This guy's shoes got blown off. When your flip-flops come off, it usually means you're mangled in Hamburg. He lives.
The same cousin that just came back from Philly, he ran up the street, and he finally got to me, and he's like this, I wish I had that on camera. I don't know how you're not dead. I was setting up for a concrete pour. Might have been short on a couple form boards. It's all just flat work, slab work. We're like, okay, so we just need like maybe 4 2x6s, 8 feet long. Where I was working had a big wood pile, so I could go there and just grab scrap wood and try to like piece this stuff together. I jump up this big wood pile. I grab the stuff and I throw them down on the ground. I'm like, I need one more piece. I throw it on the ground, and then I leap backwards off of the pile. I landed right on a board that had a 3-inch nail.
Yep.
And it went through my foot, through my boot, out the top of the boot.
Yeah.
Right through my foot.
Yeah. So it was like Looney Tunes.
And immediately scared the absolute shit out of me. So I was trying to kick it off, and it's like I had a ski on.
Oh.
You know, it's one of those things you're like in shock. As soon as it goes through your foot, you're like,
yep.
You're trying to kick the thing off, and the thing's connected to your foot, and you're trying to like pry it down so it comes out of your foot. And I was like, oh my God, it's not gonna be good.
You're going like this, raising your foot in the air.
So I take off my boot, and my sock is blood all the way up to where the top of the boot was. So the whole thing is just like in a pool of blood. I poured it out, and the mud was coming, so I had to keep doing the pour. But
you just taped your foot up and kept working the day.
I did. I had to just throw duct tape around it. My shoe ended up off again.
Yep, another shoe.
I had a Geostorm. That was my first car.
And you ripped the exhaust off of that going over the train tracks that one time, going to high school?
I was dragging it, and we were on our way to school.
We're not pulling up to school like this.
Well, we still had to, sounding like a motorcycle.
Yeah, you were driving a Harley that day.
But it legit was dragging
I was on the
ground. And Charles was like, just drive it back to my house and throw the exhaust pipe into the shrubs. The exhaust pipe was probably first. Yep. Then both windows broke with them down. Then the passenger door, it would work, but it was finicky. And then the driver's door never could latch again. So I was driving stick, holding the door with my other arm and trying to drive with my leg, while the passenger girl was getting soaked with rain. Oh, and then the icing on the cake was I had like 3 donuts, and the 4th one, I didn't put it on the frame, and it went right through the floor, and the carpet went right to the dashboard.
Yeah. I remember I was there for that. Yeah, that was really something.
So that was it.
That was it for the car.
I finally said I can't do it anymore.
It took enough damage where it became totaled.
Eric.
At the Power Beer Fest, we met a guy that was doing D&D.
Is that the king I met at the beach?
You met the king at the beach?
Yeah, remember that guy?
Oh, yes, I remember. Keith, of course. I worked at him really good.
Hey, you worked him pretty hard, right?
I worked him really hard. He's such a good guy. He's such good advice. He was really, really, really good, and he tried to speed me along. I was a lot younger. He'd been around the block, and he tried to speed me along. His name was Keith. His name is Keith.
So, so he got worked.
Yeah, he got worked. He ended up being a professional dungeon master. Well, no, not professional, but I mean, we all chipped in. We got General Sal. Yeah, he was really good. But there was a crew of like 5 people, and it was real. I remember these days from the Wood Ave times.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember these times we were the,
we were the best D&D
we were the
crew.
best. We drank the best out of everybody.
You remember these times? We were the best D&D crew ever.
Oh my God, we really were. But I had to take him up on that offer. He said, you should come play with me in the gang. I don't know how old were these guys at the time?
I would say 35, yeah.
35.
And we were probably, what, 22?
Yeah, something around there. So I went there expecting sex. Well, no, not really. But I went there, and I was a weird guy. I still am. But, I went there, and I was weird. No, I wasn't. But they played hardcore role play, and the DM, who was Keith, who is Keith, that I used to work with, he had such a campaign that went on for like a year and a half. And there were nights, there was no battle at all. It was only like economics and trade and like quests.
Like it was down to business.
It's not amateur, I'm telling you. It was professional.
Do people get absolutely hammered at the D&D things?
I didn't see one drop drank.
So I couldn't be involved.
Yeah, it was not easy.
Do you have any good drunk driving stories?
Well, I mean,
Did you sneak drinks at the D&D thing and then find yourself,
wrapped
around a tree?
I wasn't that baller.